So if you're anything like me, when you finished No More Heroes 3, you really just wanted to talk about it. You really just wanted to gush and to talk about all of the insane things that happened in the game. And I could think of nobody better to do that with than one Mr. Jonathan Holmes. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me back, Seth. Great to see you.
Always a pleasure. I honestly, like that was the first thing. I apologized to you in advance. I was like, sorry if I just, send you giddy DMs over Twitter as I'm playing this game, because this game is wild. And you had played it pre-release doing the review for Nintendo Force, and we had a great episode of Keep Nintendo Weird with you where you touched on the game a little bit. But now that the game has been out for a couple of weeks and I've played it and I reviewed it for All In, I sort of wanted to have a just no holds barred, spoiler, full spoiler warning here, because we're going to get into spoilers. We're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about the ending. We're going to talk about the implications, the things that are maybe teased in the game. So yeah, spoiler warning. If you haven't played No More Heroes 3 and you don't want things spoiled, get out of here. Come back later.
And for those people, if you listen to this and it spoils you, you're still not really spoiled, because a spoiler tells you what's going to happen. And you're like, oh, that's what happened. When you play No More Heroes 3, you're like, that's what happened? Did that happen? And I'm still not sure what it all really means. So by listening to this, you would be more joining in the analysis speculation train than you would be suddenly having all the secrets told to you, because the secrets are yet to be discovered. And hopefully Seth and I will be able to talk about it and figure out what they are, because there's in fact, just today, Suda, or maybe it was yesterday, just recently, Suda revealed something new about the game that has a whole new speculation train running. I'm sure we'll get to that pretty soon.
Yeah. So it's definitely, I said this when I reviewed it on All In, but I could literally tell you exactly what happens at the end of this game. And I think if you hadn't played it, you literally wouldn't believe me. It's that crazy. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And the game in general has got so many insane things. Like No More Heroes and Suda in general does sort of have that vibe. Like he just kind of goes for it. We compared him to David Lynch on Keep Nintendo Weird. But this game, I think, is his craziest game yet. Is that fair to say? Would you agree with that?
I think when it comes to being unpredictable in ways that are even unpredictable for him, when you have a reputation for being unpredictable, you can sort of be predictable in the way you're unpredictable, if you understand. He wanted to take on the Marvel superhero approach to storytelling with this one. And he's trying to do a normal Marvel superhero type story. You can tell he thought this is going to be like an all-American hero story, like Rocky or the Avengers. And then all of a sudden, the main character is decapitated. And he spoiled that before the game came out. He showed a picture that was drawn by Derek Robertson, who was the artist on The Boys, of Travis with his head cut off, sitting on the toilet. And he was like, oh, is that a spoiler? Well, maybe this doesn't happen. Maybe it doesn't. And now in all the interviews, he's saying, so this was Travis's last game. He's dead. We're going to miss him, everybody. But is he dead? Seth, what do you think?
It's so clear to me that there is something going on with, death as a concept is really prominent in this game. I don't know that I've ever played a game where the word dead or death is said so much. Like the game within a game is Dead Man, right?
It starts at the beginning. Yep. Death Man. Before you get to play as Travis, the first playable character in No More Heroes 3. And when I was reviewing the game, we got a Excel spreadsheet from Suda saying, don't mention this in the review. Don't mention that in the review. And it's the first thing that happened to the game. He said, don't mention it. So I didn't get to tell people that the game actually starts with you playing this 1986 game on the Hazard, I believe it's how it's pronounced.
Right.
A fake video game company that Dr. Juvenile from Travis Strikes Again worked on. Travis has become a big fan of games from this developer that is entirely fictional, but you can tell it's Suda's own reflection on working in the game industry himself and also the games he played growing up. So it starts with this 1986 game for the Death Drive Mark I console. Again, death, as you said in the name. And you are a muscular superhero who's fighting against aliens. And then Travis stops playing the game. He sort of wakes up. He's wearing a neck brace and a beard. Never
He's
explained.
got a beard, yeah.
Boxer shorts, all beat up. And he steps outside and there's aliens there. And he's like, hey, can I ask you a question? Are you guys aliens? Just the biggest. As I've been lying in bed at night, I've been trying to sleep and I just hear in my head, hey, can I ask you a question? I'm like, that was the most amazing piece to write a character that boldly innocent, stupid, aggressive, and like sweet and charming.
Somehow charming, yes.
Summing it all up, and it's just incredible stuff. So yeah, it starts with this Deathman game, and then later in the game, Travis gets decapitated, and it doesn't say, "Oh, and now the "You're dead" screen comes on, and you get the roulette wheel like all of his other deaths, because he's died many times, and there's never like a "You have this many lives" thing. It's just he's dead. You spin a wheel and he comes back to life. So he's resurrected a bunch in terms of gameplay mechanics, but in terms of a cutscene, this is the only time he's died in this way. And then you're playing Deathman again, just unexplained. You're just in there, and you got to play through a bunch of levels in Deathman this time. And when you get to the end, Deathman meets Travis in this game from 1986. And Deathman, if I remember correctly, decapitates Travis.
He does.
And his head goes flying. I don't know if you played Travis Strikes Again.
Very similar.
He gets decapitated in that one too, when he becomes a 2D pixel art character on Mars after playing virtual reality games. So
very normal occurrence. Very normal.
You mentioned David Lynch earlier. David Lynch thinks a lot about worlds within worlds and dreams within dreams, and how when you die, maybe the afterlife is this Red Lodge that's in Twin Peaks. Or maybe you're in this other place. And what is death really? Is it just waking from a dream? A lot of that stuff here, except instead of waking from dreams and going to Red Lodges, it's video game characters dying and going into other video games.
Right.
And then getting resurrected, I think. And this is actually, it seemed like a new concept, but as we just talked about, they touched on a little bit in Travis Strikes Again, where he's playing video games in order to somehow get the golden power to resurrect people. So he resurrects Bad Girl in Travis Strikes Again.
Yes.
Via the Death Drive console. So it's already like video games. It's called the Death Drive, and it's a resurrection drive of sorts. And even in No More Heroes 2, there's these ascetic points, I think they're called. I always get the pronunciation wrong. But you go to certain levels where it's clear you're being transported into a parody version of other video games. Like the Matt Helms level is just, you arrive in a certain area in the Matt Helms level and you're like, this is the graveyard from Resident Evil 4. And the Chloe Walsh level is suddenly like Metal Gear, and there's a stealth element to it, and Chloe Walsh herself is a lot like the women you fight in Metal Gear Solid 4, kind of this tortured, seductress, like a sexual but pained, very, very clear allusions to Metal Gear Solid 4, which was a pretty recent game when No More Heroes 2 came out. So he's touched upon Travis traveling to other games and what that means before, but this is the first time it was really explicitly shown to me that they may be his afterlife, other video games. And then he talked about something. I'm talking too much, so I'm going to cut myself off.
No, go for it.
Okay, real quick.
Go.
Today or yesterday or one of these days, he did an interview with the Gamer website, and not just the Gamer, the guy.
The Gamer.
Somewhere.
I am the Gamer.
Not that guy. Thank goodness. Where he said there is cut content from the game, where when Travis died, instead of going to the Deathman game, he was going to go to Black Hole Prison. which is referenced a few times in No More Heroes 3. It's where Fu and all of his cronies came from. And there's reasons to think Fu isn't totally from this dimension because he's depicted in a 2D cutscene for the start of the game. So he's already like a multimedia,
right?
What exactly are you made of? Where are you from? Alien being. So according to Suda, he had a whole hour of cutscenes planned that he had to cut. And one of them was after Travis dies, he goes to Black Hole Prison and meets Fleming, who is the devil, the Lord of Hell in Shadows of the Damned. The game Suda made with EA. And he finds out that Fleming is Midori Midorikawa's father, and she debuted in the Silver Case, Red, Green, and Blue comic. And then they fight, and presumably that fight leads Travis to get out of Black Hole Prison, which might just be hell then, even in another video game.
Even though the level in which you face Midori Midorikawa is also hell.
Exactly.
Evidently.
Yep. You're playing that level, and you're like, oh, I'm going to go save. And every time you save, it shows on your save file where you are. It's like, oh, I'm in hell. Which makes sense if she is Fleming's daughter. But in Travis Strikes Again, it's revealed that Shadows of the Damned is actually a game within a game in the No More Heroes universe, because you play in the sequel to Shadows of the Damned. It's called Damned Dark Knight. I think it's the level. And you see Garcia Hotspur and Johnson ends up being like a boss of the level, but he's like a really nice guy now. And but Travis is like, I'm in a fake world. I'm in a video game world. But what's the difference between dying and going to hell and playing a really bad video game? I don't know. Maybe there is no difference. Maybe hell is bad video games. Not that it's a bad video game. It's a pretty fun level.
It's interesting too, though, that like because like the level of hell in that made it into No More Heroes 3, the Midori Midorikawa level, is like this kind of first person survival horror-ish, but it's not super intuitive. You just kind of like walk through hallways, go into classrooms, do these kind of stilted encounters. And you're right, it's kind of like a almost intentionally bad, like, like design. It's really weird. Yeah. I hadn't considered that. Yeah, that's true. And then so I mean, like to for him to just be dropping lore bombs like that in an interview with the gamer is kind of nuts to me. The fact that he's just like, hey, this is what we were gonna do.
It's so typical of him to nonchalantly say things like that, because he understands how much the fans care, but he also is really, really, he is very humble in the sense that he'll have an idea and he'll be like, oh yeah, I'll just share it with you. Like, what? This is the biggest thing I've ever heard. Oh yeah? Oh, it's just one of my ideas. I have them all the time. Like to him, he rarely thinks his own stuff is that special, which is why he works really, really hard actually to try to make it appealing and mainstream friendly. Believe it or not, he really tries. He thinks he's making games that he knows they're weird, but he still thinks like maybe this is the one that's going to be like the next.
This will be a smash. Yeah,
maybe it's just going to be a normal person favorite, and it's just, and that's part of the charm. If he was trying to be weird, it would feel contrived to me. It would feel like conforming to non-conformity, but he's really trying to just make a normal video game for us, and this is what he naturally comes up with.
Yeah, he just goes for it, and he's just Suda, and we love him so much. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about with you specifically, because you called this out before the game came out, and I completely agree. This game, like, posits at least 4 or 5 other projects to spin off of it. Like, and again, you hinted at this a little bit, but now that I've played the game and the game's been out for a little while and we're here talking about it in a spoilery context, like the fact that you've got essentially a wink and a nod at the camera of, hey, maybe Takashi Miike is going to make a No More Heroes movie. Maybe that's just a thing that's going to happen.
It's more than a wink and a nod. It is Travis being dead. We talked about that already. Then Deathman decapitates him in the Deathman game. His head goes flying. I took a screenshot of this because I couldn't believe it was happening. I was just looking at it earlier on my Switch, like, that really happened.
Yep.
And then cut to Travis in a coffin, and he's banging on it.
It's like a Kill Bill kind of moment.
Yeah. And he's like, "Hey, get me out of here! I don't want to be in a coffin." Just like the biggest dumbass. Pardon my French. And who lets him out of the coffin, if not Takashi Miike? Now, Takashi Miike had a brief cameo that took place in the cemetery in No More Heroes 2, where he gave some swords to Shinobu, who Shinobu then gave to Travis in memoriam of the death of Bishop, who was the video store owner from No More Heroes 1, who is dead in No More Heroes 2. And in No More Heroes 3, you hang out with his brother, who's also named Bishop, and it's never explained. You just have to read the wiki on that. Otherwise,
and they're watching Miike films the entire time.
And they're watching Miike films and talking about them all the time. So Miike is the one who brings Travis out of the coffin. He brings him back from the dead. And to me, if that was any sort of intentional symbolism, my guess was that was Suda saying it was Miike and artists like Miike that inspired me to bring Travis back for this third game, because it's been no small thing to make this game. The rights are largely owned by Marvelous. Suda has been doing 1,000,000,001 things. Grasshopper got bought by Gung Ho, and then he was working on Let It Die, and then he was just writing manga. He wrote a manga called Kuriyama Dance, and he's doing animated films. Like, Suda was almost blasted off and not even working on games proper anymore. And then he's back with Travis in No More Heroes 3. That inspiration had to come from somewhere. Seemed like it came from Miike, because Miike literally brings Travis back from the dead, and then Travis says, "Will you film the No More Heroes movie?"
Just straight up.
Yeah. And then Mike's like, and then cut. They never. And if they're not going to make a No More Heroes movie now, after that, that is just the most raw of teases of all time. To get Miike in the game, to talk about Miike's movies throughout the game. Like, every chapter starts with Bishop and Travis talking about Miike movies. And then to have Travis ask Miike, "Will you make the movie?" And then not have him say no. To just cut. Of course, we're thinking the movie's going to get made, and they're just biding their time to announce it. Maybe it'll be in 5 years, maybe it'll be in 10 years, who knows? But Miike, not a young man. He's been making movies for a long time, and he has made several video game movies already. He made the Ace Attorney movie. He made the Yakuza movie. He makes movies with video game-like logic all the time anyway. So he's really the perfect fit regardless if he was in No More Heroes 3, and if Travis, even if Travis didn't ask him to make the movie, people would think he'd be the best pick for the film anyway. No More Heroes 3 is getting talked about by Nintendo all the time. Even if you never played it, you've heard of it. There's tons of curiosity about it. Tons of people say, well, those games look really cool, but I don't actually want to play them, because I heard that Suda makes really stylish, interesting games with funny writing, but he's not that good at gameplay. That's his negative reputation he has in some circles. All those people would watch a 2-hour No More Heroes movie on Amazon
totally,
or whatever. Yeah. It would be definitely, it would make its money back if they didn't spend a ton of money on making it. I actually asked Suda who he would want to have star in a No More Heroes movie back when we interviewed him in Nintendo Force issue 51, without missing a beat. Like, he'd already been thinking about it. He said, "Oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt."
Really?
Like,
to play Travis?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was his pick. And Travis is around that age now. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in his teens in the 90s.
Sure.
So he's got to be in his 30s now, mid-30s. Travis, I think, is around 39 in No More Heroes 3. So it could be a story that takes place between 2 and 3. Maybe they'll explain the whole neck brace thing and what he was doing and sitting around in the motel. There's a lot of untapped story to be told in between the No More Heroes games, or it could be the next chapter in the No More Heroes story, which I would guess it wouldn't be that. I'm guessing it would be an adaptation of the first game or a story that takes place in between games, but you never know with Suda or with Miike. So anything's possible. Yeah.
Well, and what's crazy too is like that's just one thing. That's just one like they kind of posit this potential movie with Miike, and just like you said, he's a really constant presence throughout the entire game, and they're constantly making specific reference to his films and like talking about his films so much, and then of course leading up to his actual appearance in the game, and then like to get to the like ending. I guess like the final ending, I suppose, where it's another 2D animated cutscene, and it's like a Teen Titans Go kind of looking thing, and it's very like Saturday morning cartoon kind of, and you almost wonder if that's something that they're going to jump off of. Like you almost wonder, you could kind of see them making like an animated series in that style for No More Heroes. It could kind of work, and I almost wonder if they were kind of teasing that a little bit.
Yeah.
it's
just possible.
Like,
Suda has said that he's been approached many times to make a No More Heroes series, but Marvelous owns the bulk of the rights, and he also just wasn't sure if it would be the right fit. Maybe he's found the right fit now. My guess was, as beautiful as that ending scene is, it's very cute and classy, and the art is very well done. It wasn't, I know a little bit about animation, that ending sequence wasn't super expensive to make.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, and I think they kind of ran out of money on this game. In that recent interview with the Gamer website, he says one of the reasons we cut an hour worth of planned cutscenes, including this scene with Fleming and that whole scenario where Travis is fighting in Black Hole Prison, budget concerns. And I love No More Heroes 3, but as I was playing it, I felt even more appreciation for the fact that they put as much in there as they did, because there's so many parts that tell you they ran out of money at that point. Like the t-shirt aliens are just the chest hole aliens you fight, except with a head glued on. So it's like it's a different guy, but they just ran out of. There's only 2 NPCs in the whole game that walk around the city. It could be explained by the fact that giant pig squid named Oma, I think.
Yeah,
you're right. Who's screaming Adrian in a Rocky style scene. They kill a bunch of people at the start of the game and turn them into pink clouds. Maybe the NPCs who survived, they seem to be wearing VR headsets. Did you notice this? And sailor hats. So maybe they're all playing another game, which kept them from dying in that game. It could be another death video game.
Wow,
thing. And or they just ran out of money. So they're like, take that male NPC, shrink it a little bit, keep the chest a little big, make the butt a little round. It's a woman. And now we've got 2 NPCs, but they're wearing the exact same clothes.
That's what's brilliant, is that like he works within those budgetary constraints, and it's so clear that this game had a small budget comparative to other AAA video games, and like you can see where money was spent in some places versus others.
Yes,
for sure. But yet, because he's Suda 51, he can get away with it, and we can sit here and have conversations like this about something like NPCs and why there might only be 2 NPCs, whereas with any other game, we would just be like, well, that's, whatever, there's only 2 NPCs in this open world. But for Suda, we're just like, what could it mean?
Yeah, I like the game more that it has those technical failings in it. They're not failings, they're just points of connection and points of potential speculation as well. Was that low budget? Is that why you slam dunk alligators or body slam alligators? Sure. And then later, giant alligators come out of the water and walk like Godzilla, and you shoot them with a tank. Did they not have enough money for kaiju graphics, or did they just love alligators? And as I think we talked about last time, when Suda was pitching No More Heroes, he brought pictures of Johnny Knoxville with alligators biting his nipples to Marvelous and Ubisoft and whatever, saying like, let's make a game about this. So alligators have always been kind of a key undercurrent to No More Heroes for Suda. Maybe that's why they're in the game in places where it's not totally appropriate, or it's a budgetary thing, or both. You never know, and that's part of the fun. But that ending, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what happens in that Teen Titans Go style ending?
Yeah, so let me try to unpack this a little bit, because all right, so in the ending itself, you do the final boss fight with Fu, right? And it sort of builds up as if any, like any good final boss fight, and it's a fun fight, and they don't pull back. It doesn't feel cheapened or anything like that. It feels like a satisfying final boss fight. And then Fu is sort of reduced to his infant state that he's in that like 2D animated sequence in the beginning of the game that has been revealed. They showed that when he first meets Damon. And then, plot twist, Damon, who you have thought this entire time has been getting, like, he's been working with these like people to get like something that you think is to kill Travis. And then turns out it's like this detonator that he then uses to kill Fu. And then Damon is the boss of the game, like properly. And then they bring in the arsenals from Damon Ex Machina, another Marvelous IP. And I swear to God, this actually is what happens in this video game. And you pilot a mech suit from another video game franchise, and then you fight Damon in a Super Smash Brothers stage.
Yep. After you beat Damon in a giant robot, it looks kind of like a Gundam. And that's the credits too. The credits are rolling as you're doing the fight. And then you go to like a little Prince style island in space. And Damon looks like, I don't know if you've seen the movie They Live.
Yes.
That was my immediate thought, was like, they're doing a They Live reference because Damon is the kind of guy who seems like he's an aspirational character. He's not a fighter. He's a businessman. They never come out and say it, but he actually owns everywhere you go in the game. It's called Utopiland now. Santa Destroy is just part of it. All the money is based on
like Utopia coins.
Yeah, and that's all Damon's company, and Damon's last name is the same last name as John Riccatello, who Suda worked with on Shadows of the Damned. So they're
that's
sort
not
of
intentional. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
And he had a rough time on Shadows of the Damned. That's why he made that comic Kuriyama Dance. It's actually his original vision for the Shadows of the Damned story that he didn't get to make, but I digress. So Damon's all they lived out. You thought he was a normal person, but he's actually this horrific alien that's just there to suck your soul. And they have some little dialogue. I should watch it again. Then Damon turns into like a giant purple porcupine Power Ranger and fights kind of like Sonic in Smash Brothers. He's got a spin dash attack, and that would make Travis sort of the Mario. And there's an all new UI that looks like if there was ever a 16-bit Smash Brothers, it's all pixel style graphics for it saying game and all that.
Yeah.
And then it's a 2D Smash Brothers style game for the last fight.
Well, and so this is so funny because I was thinking about this as I was playing that section, because when there was a huge rumor going around for a long time that Travis was going to be worked into Super Smash Brothers Ultimate as a playable fighter. And I almost wonder if, because a lot of times these leakers like have some sort of contact, or they see like footage from games in development or whatever. And I almost wonder if this scene got leaked out to somebody and they said, oh, well, Travis is coming to Smash. But really it was just this throwaway like kind of scene in No More Heroes 3. You know? Yeah.
And even if that didn't happen, that's something Suda would have loved to have happened.
Yeah,
like that whole fight was one of the things on his list of things don't spoil. But if it got spoiled in a way where it led people to think Travis was coming to Smash as more than a Mii costume, that he would have loved that. And it was clear to me that he put that in there for Smash fans and also to bait people into thinking, does this mean Travis is coming to Smash? Does this mean the next big Grasshopper game is going to be a Smash-like with all of our different characters from No More
And
Heroes?
they could do that.
Yeah, that's when Travis Strikes Again was just, I think it was just announced and shown at PAX. I interviewed Suda there. It was the 20th birthday of Grasshopper, I think. I brought him a cake. You can watch the video. I sing him happy birthday and stuff. It's very weird. And
I love it.
So he was appreciative. And then but he was weirded out too, which is fair because it's not like I know him super well and I'm singing to him. But that's when, not to toot my own horn, but thing about Suda is when fans say they want something, he listens. And I've been yelling at him about all sorts of stuff in terms of how I see his games, what I love about his games. And then more than a few times, I'm like, did he put that in because we talked about this like a couple years ago? Like I interviewed him about No More Heroes 2 and Shadows of the Damned, right when that was coming out. And I told him that I thought of Sylvia as like a self-insert because Sylvia is the designer of all the battles that Travis is in. She's setting up all the fights. Travis has to pay her and her company money to play the game, which for Travis is the assassination game. For the player, it is the game No More Heroes and No More Heroes 2. So if Sylvia is the one behind the games that Travis plays and Suda's behind the No More Heroes series, that's sort of a self-insert. And he was like, what? I'm not that big of a bitch. What are you saying? Like he was pretty funny about it. But then the next No More Heroes game, Travis Strikes Again, there's a self-insert character who's a game developer named Dr. Juvenile, whose life story is clearly based in parts around parts of Suda's career, particularly the parts of his career where he worked with EA. Dr. Juvenile in Travis, and her name is Dr. Juvenile, and Suda is the first one to be like, I've got a very juvenile sense of humor.
Right.
I like toilets. I like, motion control jokes and stuff like that. So her name is Dr. Juvenile, and in Travis Strikes Again, she worked on Shadows of the Damned, except it's got a slightly different name with Damon Riccatello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, 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 very close. So
different people.
Did he do that self-insert? Because at one point I was like, is Sylvia self-insert? Probably not. But these are the kind of things that crossed my mind. And when I saw him on the Travis Strikes Again promotional tour, I was like, you've got to make a Suda Smash Brothers. You've got to make a Sudaverse. All these games are connected in our minds anyway. And we're going to love it so much if you can get Juliet in Travis Strikes Again, if you can get all these other characters. And this is before, and that all kind of happened, but this is before anybody saw the text adventure parts of Travis Strikes Again. No one knew it was going to be this massive crossover. So I'm not saying he said, well, Jonathan said I should do this, so I'll do it. But I do think that he listens to everybody and he talks to a lot of people about what kind of game he's going to make and what is going to be in it. And if enough people say, I want this, or I want that, or this is what this meant to me, he tries to meet their needs. He like we said, he's a weird guy who can't help but have really unique ideas, but he's trying to just please the crowds. He just wants to make his fans happy. And that's one of the things I loved about No More Heroes 3 is there's so many little moments that were there just to make fans happy. Yes. No one else was necessarily going to get it, but it was like, oh, that's just like that scene in that part. And all the gotcha characters you can get. It's every boss from No More Heroes, No More Heroes 2, and Travis Strikes Again. So many little moments that showed me that he cared about his fans and just wanted to put a smile on their face.
Yeah, and like you can even just imagine, even if he just simply kept it in the universe of No More Heroes, you could make a whole fighting game just out of No More Heroes characters.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, he's talked in the past about interest in making like a Shinobu spinoff. That is sort of, Shinobu has a little bit of an arc in the game. You actually, thank you for doing this, by the way, in the episode of Keep Nintendo Weird, encouraging folks to go and talk to Shinobu and Bad Girl between chapters in the motel, because that was just precious. And I'm so glad that that's in the game. And I did the same thing in the review I did for All In. I was like, please just do that, because it's great. But so we've got the implications of a Miike film, the implications of maybe a Smash Brothers something. You've got a Daemon Ex Machina crossover for some reason. You've got Shinobu spinoff that's already been kind of like being talked about. And then, yeah, to get back to that 2D animated ending, like you get there and Fu's father shows up, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's kind of talked about. I think Fu mentions his father maybe once or twice throughout the course of the game. Like, it's implied that he doesn't have a good relationship with his father. His father sent him to the prison or something like that.
That sounds familiar. I'll have to watch it again. It is.
Yeah.
He did cut an hour of cutscenes, but there's still 2 hours, at least 2 hours left. But if I remember correctly, Fu's father had something to do with why Fu was also on Earth, trying to destroy the Earth. I think it was Fu's father or someone else that led Fu to think that Earth was an evil planet. And then Sonic Juice, who's the third to last boss, who works for Fu, is like, maybe this planet's not that bad. These people seem all right. He talks to Travis. They talk about, I think, Final Fantasy VII, but it's never actually said. But it seems like it. And it would be that, for me, that was another callback, because the very first piece of No More Heroes media ever is a trailer for a game called just Project Heroes. And you fight a guy, or Travis fights a guy in that video that looks a lot like Sephiroth. And then that gets referenced in No More Heroes 2, where the first boss is the brother of that guy who looks like Sephiroth. But this guy has hair exactly like Cloud Strife. So, like, sort of making fun of, sort of a rivalry, a jealousy. Something's going on between Suda and Final Fantasy VII, because he's having Travis take characters down, or characters who look like characters from Final Fantasy VII down in his media all the time. And then he talks to Sonic Juice about RPGs and Final Fantasy VII for like a long time.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't you think those characters look kind of beep? Right. Like, I never thought they looked beep before, but I guess you're right. I enjoy RPGs. And Travis is like, nah, they stink. You know, and they have a big fight about it. And sorry for the tangent. Then Fu kills Sonic Juice because Fu wants to believe that the world is evil and people are evil. And Sonic Juice saying, well, maybe they're good. Maybe we can make peace with Travis. Travis didn't kill me. Maybe we can work this out. Fu doesn't want to believe that that's possible. He's determined to stay in his state of narcissistic rage and entitlement and belief that he is the good guy. If Fu had to admit, oh, maybe Earth isn't that bad, then he would have to admit, oh, maybe I shouldn't have killed all those people.
Right.
Which wouldn't be great for Fu. So Fu is a quick note about Fu. I see him as being a little bit of a wish fulfillment fantasy for Suda in some ways. There's a scene early in the game where Fu is in a boardroom with Damon Riccatello, and he's like, who are these clowns? And he just kills them all. He kills all the businessmen. And my first thought was, I know Suda has wanted to do that before. I know Suda has been in a room full of suits who have never written a story in their life, who have never had a creative moment in their life. And he's just like, get rid of these guys. Let's have some fun. Like, there's moments where Fu is really charming, and he would be an interesting villain if he was just purely dislikable. There's times when you hope he's going to turn good. There was points where I thought, well, maybe he and Travis will team up and fight Damon. And then maybe that'll still happen, because who knows what death even means in the No More Heroes series. But your original point was about Fu's father coming down, who reminded me of the King of All Cosmos from the Katamari series.
Oh, totally.
And that whole cutscene is illustrated in that way. And he's like, well, if you can agree to my demands, I won't have to destroy the Earth. And we don't even know what the demands are, if I remember correctly. They may not even be that bad. No, and then Travis is like, no way! I don't do what anyone tells me. And then the Fu's dad is just like, well, I'll have to kill you then. And then all of a sudden, Fu's dad is cut into many tiny pieces. And he's essentially God. Like, he comes down and he looks like, this is the King of All Cosmos from Katamari. Seems to
with
be,
like an armada.
Of like angel demons or something. This is the King of All Cosmos is implied to be the creator of the universe and therefore is God. This guy seems to be on that power level. And then he's just cut to bits. By who? By who, Seth? Who did the killing?
Yeah, what is revealed to be Sylvia and Travis's children from the future. And also, like there was a character that shows up too in the game that refers to as grandpa, or refers to Travis as grandpa. And it sort of seems like because you kind of you're already in the Suda 51 headspace, you're kind of like, okay, I see what's kind of happening here. It's kind of, there's some weird time travel-y things happening here. And then when you get to that ending and that character also comes back, and they explain that Henry, Travis's brother, who is also in No More Heroes 3 and is the one that orchestrates the decapitation that we referenced earlier, kills him in the future and is going to destroy the planet. And then they're like, hey, we need your help to change the future. And that could also be something. No More Heroes 4, something, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a huge plot. That's ripe for the picking,
Yeah. It is a classic Marvel style post-credit sequence where you're left thinking, I liked that movie, but more than that, now I just want another movie.
Yes.
That's what Marvel is so good at, is making you care more about seeing the next movie than just enjoying the one you saw. It really, really embeds us with hunger for their product. And that's what Suda wants to do. He wants to keep us hungry for No More Heroes and to have fun with us. The details around that, though, the fact that the kids came back from the future and are like, Travis, you got to help us. I don't know if you remember, No More Heroes 1 ends with the to be continued font. The words to be continued in the Back to the Future font. So it was a massive circle for me on that. Like, he finally made good on that. It never made any sense. Like, why is it the Back to the Future font? You're just doing references for reference's sake. Maybe he's had this plan the whole time. And Jean, Travis's daughter, makes her first appearance in that ending.
Right.
No More Heroes, with Sylvia looking at a painting of Travis and Henry fighting, which would be, maybe that painting was done in this future fight that they're going to do. It's very, very hard to tell when anything takes place and what dimension it takes place in. And there's Travis cuts Henry in half earlier in the game. And then, and I took a screenshot of this too, because I couldn't believe it. And then it pans up, and Sylvia was, for some reason, in another motel room at the Motel No More Heroes. She doesn't want to share a place with Travis, even though he's got 3 floors now. She's got her own place. She's taking out her own garbage, because it's never clear if she really loves him or not. She's so mysterious.
They have such a weird relationship, don't they?
They really, really do. Yeah. And you'd think maybe now that they're married and they have kids, it would be less weird.
Yeah.
It's weirder than ever. She's keeping him at arm's length more than ever, just in a different way, in a spousal, I'm not going to tell you about the kids, I'm not going to tell you about my feelings. She won't talk to him, but she sees him all the time. So she's taking out the trash and like giving him a monologue about life and death or something, and he's just like dumbstruck. And then the camera pans up and Henry's hanging out in her room.
Just slow pan to Henry hanging out in the bedroom.
And I think they were married at one point in No More Heroes 2. It says that they got divorced.
Right.
But can you believe Sylvia when she says that? Were they married the whole time? Are the kids even Travis's? So much to potentially find out in the next chapter of the story, which, according to Suda, he has wanted to make the No More Heroes games. Now he's trying to have them be in lockstep with the Rocky series. And eventually he said, I want to get to that chapter where it's Creed, where Travis is in the background, and maybe he's training Shinobu, maybe he's training his kids, maybe he's training his grandkid, but you don't necessarily focus on him for the whole story, where he's passing the torch. That could be No More Heroes 4, that could be No More Heroes DLC, that could be the movie, that could be the animated series you were talking about. The possibilities are almost endless and so dependent on how well the game sells, I think.
Yes.
No More Heroes 2 didn't sell that great. And then there was a pause on the series for almost a decade. So No More Heroes 3 sells pretty well. I imagine Suda wanting to work on his own projects. He's got 3 original IPs working on. Maybe he's working on that Sudaverse game that will be a Smash Brothers-like game. Who knows, that you mentioned. But I see him, if No More Heroes 3 does really well, him backing off a little bit and saying, I'm going to pass the torch to a younger creator to direct the game. and I'll write it and I'll supervise it. And maybe it'll be about these younger characters too. It'll be about Scott, the grandson, who I thought was named after Scott Pilgrim, because Suda loves Scott Pilgrim, but the designer of the character is actually named Scott. He's one of the artists on the Borderlands series, actually. So there was at least 2 guest designers for the bosses.
He looks like a Borderlands character, actually. He kind of looks like Zero a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little out of place, but in a way that works with Suda because he's such a mixed media, mixed influence artist. He's constantly mashing things together, so it still worked. And also, Kimmy's new design was by one of the Bayonetta character designers.
Oh, sure. When you just rap battle, because why not? Because why not? My jaw was literally on the floor. I was like, no, this, and then all of these moments. Not only just the rap battle, but then one of the boss fights is musical chairs.
Yep.
With a character named Velvet Chair Girl.
Mm-hmm. She commits suicide when she loses because the game meant everything to her, Travis. and it's musical chairs, and this is right after Travis had killed Kimmy and felt super bad about it. So he vows to never kill another woman again, and he doesn't. Velvet Chair Girl kills herself, and then he fights Midori Kawa and ends up becoming best buds with her. So it's a real twist after twist, but yeah, that rap battle, I want to know how you felt about that, because I had strong feelings about it. I haven't talked to anybody else in the world about it because I have no one to talk to about it. But you said, what'd you think?
It was weird. I like the actual raps themselves were it's a little, I think, intentionally cringy. They kind of, I feel want you to kind of look at that with a bit of a wince, but then I'm trying to even remember what was being said. I was in such a daze, watching that. I couldn't even believe what I was seeing.
When we talked last about this series, you asked me what makes it special, what I like about it, and I said it's about so many polar extremes. Travis is a good guy and a terrible guy. He's funny and also cringy. He's really cool and stylish and also incredibly dorky. And for me, that was that all coming to a head. Kimmy has become this huge pop star and she's on stage. She looks really cool. Character design by the Bayonetta character designer who's so stylish and so awesome.
And then here's Travis being the worst rapper ever.
She starts it, and she is so. And I don't like pop music that much. I like some pop music, but as a whole, I tend to cringe about pop music trends.
Sure.
So to me, Kimmy, who you wanted to love, and I want to love pop stars because they're so charming and good at image and all that. And I wanted to love Kimmy this whole time because she's this lovable side boss in No More Heroes 2. And Travis starts to show humanity because he refuses to kill her. And now she's a pop star. I was so ready for them to join up and be friends. But she's just a narcissistic jerk. And her raps are kind of bad. And I'm she's kind of sucks actually. And then Travis just preachy dad, trying to be tough, but just a preachy dad being you gotta get your head on straight. Girl, you're going out of your head. Wow. I relate. I am not a cool guy. I'm a 44-year-old dad. And if I had to get on stage and do a freestyle rap against, what, a Doja Cat? Is that one of the ones these days? Or
is it?
Who's that lady everyone likes? There's she's a country singer. I think she raps sometimes. Taylor Swift.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, sure.
I can't keep. I was thinking of Kimmy as Taylor Swift, and if I had to suddenly do a rap battle with Taylor Swift. It would be so bad. So I was cringing and relating with Travis as being an old, uncool dad. And he's trying to get through to the kids with their music. The kids enjoy the rap music these days. So
let's get into it. Let's talk to them. Let's turn that chair backwards and totally.
And that would have if it hadn't already been done by Captain America, that would have been the perfect for him to turn that chair around backwards and be Kimmy, I really want to help you, girl.
Let's rap. Yeah. And let's wrap it out. Yeah.
And then he kills her.
Yeah.
And I was so sad. And then Sylvia comes out and says, what, did you think this was going to be like a superhero movie where you team up and save the world? I was like, yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did think actually.
That's what you told me it would be, Sylvia, but she was coming with the harsh truths about the fact that Travis is still an assassin and he has to wrestle with that part of himself that he doesn't necessarily want. And then the only way to ever improve as a person is to face the things you don't like about yourselves, be honest with the things about yourself that you don't like, and do something about it, which you see Travis start to do here and there. Yeah. So it was a very important boss fight in my life.
And it was a really, actually, the fight itself is probably my favorite one in the game. It's actually really fun. Yeah. So let me mention one last thing before I let you go. I don't want to keep you here all night, but we haven't talked at length yet about not only just Midori Midorikawa, but as you mentioned, kind of like passing the torch a little bit, you know, to a younger crowd, to younger characters. We've also got Kimu Uehara in the game, also from Silver Case. I didn't play Silver Case, but from what I understand, is he not like a serial killer in the Silver Case? Isn't that a thing?
So yes, but it's very. So he's more of an idea. To me, he is more like Anonymous, or if you've seen V for Vendetta, where it's like he represents a hole in the culture, a place people feel in terms of being outcast, being used by society. And it's been a little while since I played the Silver Case games. I just bought them again because I wanted.
I need to grab that Switch version. Yeah.
The special edition is like, maybe they're lying on the website, but it said there's 0 to 5% stock left. So I
gotta grab that.
Because it comes with the comic that is Midori's.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm a weirdo for stuff like that, and I imagine that being valuable to me down the line. And you can't really find it online very well. That said, some really cool guys and gals took the red, green, and blue comic and turned it into a free game. So if you want to play it as a game, you can play the 3 stories in the red, green, and blue.
How cool is that?
Yeah. It's not like filled with gameplay exactly, but you get to have the story presented to you in a semi-interactive way. So it's nice. But yeah, you're asking about Kamui. He was controlled by some government agency, tortured, and turned into kind of a weapon. And then there was copycat killers. There are people who are like, I am now like Kamui. Kamui is me. I almost like Negan, but if Negan from Walking Dead wasn't like a sociopathic, narcissistic leader. Kamui was never looking for people to follow him, but they did. He became sort of an urban legend, a cultural icon, sort of like a homicidal Banksy in some way, but he wasn't doing actual graffiti. That was gonna make a lot of Kill the Past fans cringe when they hear that, but that's maybe a way to sum him up. So this new guy, who is Kamui, but he's called New Type Kamui. He may be a different person. He seems to have godlike powers now. There's a scene where Fu is hanging out in a diner and is like texting with Midori, and Midori's not going to show up for the boss fight. Kamui just keeps coming up, and Fu can't stop him. He's like the Terminator, but he looks like a 15-year-old kid.
Yeah, so, like a young child. Yeah. So it could go any which way. My hope was that Suda's next game is going to be a Midori and Kamui standalone adventure game about those two just kind of living their lives as young people. He told me earlier in the year for that Nintendo Force interview that he's already working on his next IP after No More Heroes 3 is done. It's going to be wild. It's going to be like nothing you've ever seen, he said. But he always says that. And I asked him if he'd ever seen Buckaroo Banzai. And he was like, no, I've never seen it. And this was another time where when I was playing No More Heroes 3, I'm like, did I influence that? There's a scene in No More Heroes 3 where Travis, Midori, Kamui, Notorious, Bad Girl, and Shinobu are all walking in a line, and it's like straight out of Buckaroo Banzai.
He'd never seen Buckaroo Banzai. At least that's what he told me. And while I'm doing the interview with him, he gets out a smartphone. He's like, "Oh, Buckaroo Banzai." Like types it in. He's like, "Oh, this looks pretty hilarious." Like he was pretty.
Yes.
He was pretty into it because it's John Lithgow and the guy who played RoboCop, Peter Weller, being like really straight faced while he's also playing a trumpet. And like you have to see Buckaroo Banzai. If you
I need to.
It's a very Suda style thing where it is so many things at once. You can't tell if it's so good or so bad or both at the same time. John Lithgow and Jeff Goldblum's in it, and he wears a cowboy outfit the entire time. Never explained. He's just always wearing a cowboy. He's a surgeon, but he's dressed as a cowboy for the entire movie. Anyway, I could go on. Yeah, I hope that. And then he said, I'm sorry, Suda said, I think if you like Buckaroo Banzai, you're going to like my next game because they look pretty similar. There's definitely some similarities there. So
interesting.
That would make total sense for Kamui and for Midori to be in a Buckaroo Banzai style adventure, because the thing about Buckaroo Banzai is he is a astrophysicist, surgeon, rock star who really, you never think for 1 second anything bad is going to happen to this guy. He's just like the ultimate dude. And that's who he's making Kamui to be. He's just like super powered, but also really nice and young and has like a good style to him, but is dark and mysterious and is connected with all these deeper things that you can unlock if you want to, dig into if you want to, or you can just like have a fun, youthful superhero story with him. There's so many different ways you could enjoy it, and that's to me right in line with Buckaroo Banzai.
Because he has this, again, not being familiar with the character, my read on him was just, he's got these like weirdly godlike abilities, but then he's this kind of plucky, apple-cheeked little, 14-year-old boy or whatever who's just like, stay away from my girlfriend, and like it was just like totally that kind of thing. And but then there's a little bit of a darker undertone to it all, and then like knowing the game they came from and stuff like that. And then like you could almost imagine too, like Midori's got her 2 like sentient arms.
Yep.
That seem like that could make for a really interesting gameplay mechanic. Like that sounds like that would appeal to Suda, to make a game based on those characters for sure. And they're not in the game much.
No. I mean, hearing that he had a whole backstory planned with her being Fleming's daughter makes total sense. You could just feel that he wanted to do more with them than he could. And he created Midori for the Silver Case comic out of the blue. Like Silver Case wasn't a hot series. It's not like he was continuing something anyone expected. He just suddenly was like, I'm going to write a supplemental comic to follow up the 25th Ward, which is the sequel to the Silver Case. So they're sort of like a little trilogy, Silver Case, 25th Ward, and then Red, Green, and Blue. He didn't need to introduce Midori there, but he wanted to for a reason. He clearly wanted to get that character out there as soon as he could, build her fan base as soon as he could, and do something with her beyond just being in one comic and being one boss fight in No More Heroes 3. I know that he wants to do more. It's just a question of, I mean, as I know, Suda, I think I said last time we talked, he's an amazing script writer. He is filled with ideas. He allows his team to create these multimedia masterworks where, I don't know if you've heard much about how the soundtrack for No More Heroes 3 was put together.
Oh my goodness.
He just reached out to fans and was like, I like your music. Do you want to do the boss fight for Gold Joe? And they were like,
and it's so good.
I know. And they brought so much passion because it's true love for the project and the source material and the collaboration. They all bring out the best in each other, and just, he's such a great director in that way. And he mentions Mike is like this too, that he instills his staff and teaches his staff how to work and gets them excited about the job they're in, so they do a better job. Like, you will work pretty hard for money, but you will give it everything you got when it's love and passion and joy, when you're enjoying your work. So I see him wanting to do more games that have that feeling behind it, and wanting to have it be about this new generation of people, about kids again. He's an older guy. He's over 51. I think he's 50, might be 54 this year. So, he's more than halfway to 100. He knows that the greater part of his career is probably halfway there, and he wants to try to keep as much life and joy and youthfulness and energy in it as he can, and that means passing the torch and also fostering younger staff.
That's a great point. Yeah, I would love to see that. I would love to see him kind of that's something that, and I'm not going to get off on a tangent of this. I'll let you go soon, I promise. But that's something that I kind of wish I would see a little bit more from Nintendo. We're starting to see that, but yeah. It's like how many, I love Shigeru Miyamoto. He's a legend, but how many games do I really want to see him work on? What I mean? Like, yeah, I know. It's time to pass the torch for sure.
Yeah. I'm certain that Suda loved Super Mario Odyssey. He was playing it. This is what I mean about him just grabbing little influences from whatever. It could be a game he was playing. He put Travis climbing up the coconut tree and jumping off and going woohoo!
Right.
Because he was playing Super Mario Odyssey as he was making No More Heroes 3, and on an interview he was like holding it up, being like, "I beat it, guys. I finally got through it." He was so excited about it. But yeah, Nintendo is sometimes passing the torch. The Splatoon team is fairly young. I think the Animal Crossing team, that was the first game headed up by a woman director, I think, to blow up that big. But it is a pretty, how do I put this? The company has been around for a long time.
It's like 132, I think, years old.
Yeah, and they're always innovating, but they also are very married to this image that they've spent so many years cultivating. So I think it's going to be a little while before they let Suda make a Mario game, unfortunately.
Right.
But he did co-direct, actually, Fatal Frame 4 for Nintendo.
Okay. Yeah. So, it's interesting. Mario Odyssey is an interesting corollary because my favorite thing about Mario Odyssey is when you get to the credits, it's in alphabetical order, and Shigeru Miyamoto's just in there with the M's, and it's like a super elegant, like, passing of the torch moment, I feel like. And I think that in some ways, No More Heroes 3 has moments that feel that way. And introducing characters like these new kids, like Midori Midorikawa, kind of feels a little bit like that, like a little bit of that passing of the torch, and I would love to see that in the future.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for indulging me with this conversation.
My pleasure. I was, as I told you a little earlier, feeling pretty under the weather earlier. My sinuses hurt, my head felt big, I felt like lightheaded and was having trouble focusing. I think I was just really bored, Seth. I think I wasn't as sick as I thought. I've had so much fun talking to you about No More Heroes. I feel like 100% better. It's been so exciting and fun.
Thank you. It's been a blast. Thank you for doing it, even though you were not feeling well. I really appreciate that.
It was the best.
And hey, the power didn't go out this time. So
the power didn't go out this time. And I had a joke that I failed to do earlier. You said this was going to be no holds barred.
Yeah.
It's no more.
Ooh, there we go. I love that.
I'm 44 years young.
Well, hey, go ahead and point folks in your direction for me real quick. How can people follow you and everything you're doing?
Oh, sure. I am at Non-Trotsky. Is that right? Yep.
Yes.
Yes, it is. It used to be something else. I changed it a little while back. It's currently Non-Trotsky on Twitter. I'm on there every day tweeting. I'm on Destructoid. I just wrote a story about that interview from the gamer. Some of the theories I just talked to you about, Seth, I also put in that post for Destructoid. That's probably going to go live in the next day or so. So if you Google
we'll
that.
link to that. Yeah, we'll link to it.
What the heck? That'll be fun. Nintendo Force, writing for them. Print magazine. We're just wrapping up our Metroid issue, which you can buy for $5 in print if you go to the Patreon site before, I think, September 20th. So they'll have some time.
I just did that, by the way. I just got in on that. So
cool. I hope you like it. I drew a Metroid comic in there. That's pretty weird.
I love it.
It's no more. It's the non-specific action figure meets
Yes.
Samus, and they talk about their pasts for. It's just a one-page comic, but I tried to pack it with stuff, and I reviewed Axiom Verge 2 and No More Heroes 3 and some other stuff in the next issue. And I actually just got word that I'm probably going to do a Metroid-related feature for Switch Player magazine.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's when I write, I suddenly just barf a bunch of words, and
Like Suda.
kind of like Suda.
The dump metaphor, right?
Not, exactly.
Yeah.
Not as good as Suda, but it tends to just come out. And I pitched to Switch Player magazine, said I have something about Metroid I would want to write. What do you think? I wrote like a 20-word pitch. They said, sure. Can you flesh that out into 600 to 800 words? I went to go look at my notes that I didn't send them that just spelled out, and it's already
4,000 words.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I just need to pare that back and send that to them. So assuming they like it enough to print it, you can see that in the next Switch Player magazine.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, yeah, anyway, you guys will find links to all that stuff, of course, in the video description. Yeah, thanks so much again. It was such a blast to talk to you as always, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, Seth.
Take care.
Take care.